Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting of Monday, December 18th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have a couple announcements. Tom, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate and thank all of the incredible students who helped with the 2024 edition of the Senior Christmas Dinner. We had students from DVSS and students from St. Anthony's, and we even had participation from students from Green Tree School who did the incredible placemats, hand-drawn Merry Christmas placemats. So thank you to all the students for the incredible good work, and also to all the volunteers and everyone else who helped with it. It was very successful, and I think enjoyed immensely by the seniors in the community.
Thanks, Tom. Crystal?
Yes, I just want to thank everyone who came and supported the Rails to Trails Community Christmas Party. Second, I think annual is what it's going to become, whether it's the Rails to Trail or another committee. But first of all, I want to thank the task force, everyone that's involved that made this Christmas party a success, and for everyone who came and bid on silent auction items and got to go home with some really wonderful gifts, including myself. Picked my own Christmas gifts this year. So it was a really great event. And just thanks again to everyone.
And thank you to all those who donated that evening. It was remarkable. Patrick, you are going to step up for the next couple months.
I, Patrick Kalafa, solemnly affirm that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability execute according to law the office of Deputy Mayor for the town of Drumheller for the months of January and February 2024.
Congratulations. And thank you to Stephanie Price for stepping up and being a deputy mayor for the last couple of months. Although I didn't make her work too hard, that doesn't mean she still doesn't have a lot of work to do. So thank you, Stephanie. All right, is there any additions to the agenda? Nope. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
Sorry, we have a deletion to the agenda. We'd like to delete 7.1.2, the closed session under the CAO, please.
Can I get a motion to amend the agenda, Tony?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda as stated for the December 18, 2023 regular council meeting and adopt as amended.
Seconder, please. Patrick, all in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes of December 4th, please? Stephanie?
I move that council approve the minutes for the December 4th, 2023 regular council meeting as presented.
Seconder, Tom, comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, let's talk about the council, board, and committees. Is that you, Daryl? Or Denise is doing that?
Hello. So what you see before you is actually just the schedule of meetings for 2024 for council. So we do this at the end of the year and ask that council adopt the schedule as presented in front of you. We then post it in the newspaper and the website, and we start putting it on the calendar. It is subject to change. Sometimes we have to shift or shuffle things, or we add meetings along the way, but this will be our base schedule for 2024. So we're just looking for a motion to accept it.
Lisa?
I move that council approve the 2024 council meeting schedule as presented.
Seconder? Patrick? Comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Denise. All right, I am going to present this one, 6.2. So currently I sit on a committee of South Central Mayors meeting. This part of the neighboring communities around pretty much Olds, Carstairs, Three Hills, that area. And we continually explore joint opportunities, things that are, what are happening in your community, our community, how can we help each other? So it's a very informal group. We just meet to just share ideas. As part of the town of Drumheller, we're all members of the Alberta Municipalities And that's made up of villages, cities, towns, specialized municipalities. And in that, there is, with the mid-size communities, there's 24 mid-sized communities. So what we're looking at, we actually had a meeting with the president of Alberta Municipalities explaining that we're looking at creating a mid-size mayor's caucus. So for towns that are not large but not small. And so the committee asked if each one of us would present this to our councils, ask for a motion, and it's all we're basically asking for is just allowing me to continue the talks on behalf of council. So can I get a motion, please, Stephanie?
I move that council approve that the mayor of the town of Drumheller continue to participate in the initiative to explore the creation of a mid-sized towns mayor caucus.
Seconder, Lisa, comments? Lisa?
I think it's a great idea because it tends to seem like the rurals get missed quite a bit at AUMA and RMA. Maybe not so much RMA, I guess, but AUMA, we seem to be overshadowed by, like, say, City of Red Deer, Calgary, Edmonton. So it'd be nice to have a great committee or caucus that comes together that can actually bring our voice further to the table. So I like the idea.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, Daryl, we'll move on to 7.1.1, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So before you is a request for second and third reading of bylaw 1023, which is berm C, the removal of municipal reserve status. So just a little refresher for everyone. The berm that is behind the travel lodge area is originally known as berm C, as named by the province. And part of that land was built on a municipal reserve, and part of the adjacent landowners, there's a real land barrier issue there. So we wanted, as part of the berm construction, we've made an agreement with the adjacent landowner to acquire some of the land that was ours in exchange for giving them some of the land that our berm was sitting on that was theirs. And we are needing to remove the municipal reserve status so we can actually finish that transaction and create a public utility lot with the lands that the berm sit on right now. So we've had the first reading, we had a public hearing, there was no information, or sorry, nothing that was commented at the public hearing. And so now we've gone through our advertising process and we're looking for second reading and third reading so we can complete this and then bring back the public utility lot request in January to council.
Thank you, Daryl. Can I get a motion, please, Tom?
Yeah, I move that council gives second reading of North Drumheller Berm C Grove Plaza Municipal Reserve Removal Bylaw 10.23 as presented.
Seconder, Tony, comments? Generally, this is back to just housekeeping things that we gotta clean up.
Yeah, so really what this is trying to resolve property lines where fence lines were and where people's thoughts were with respect to ownership of land. So we had some of our berm originally on private land. Some of the private land was on town land, that we're using town land. So we're basically fixing the two boundary issues and creating a public utility lot with our lands and reestablishing the fence line on the property line.
Thank you. Anybody else? All in favor? Carrie, can I get a motion for third reading, please? Patrick?
I move that council give third reading to North Drumheller Berm C Grove Plaza MR removed bylaw 10.23 as presented.
Seconder? Lisa, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Daryl. Okay, we shall move on to 7.2.1, please, Dagan.
I have a request for decision before council this evening with regards to expropriation of a partial lot that we need for the construction of a berm in Knockmine. So we did start discussion with the landowners in August of this year, and those discussions have been ongoing over the past several months. But the property owner has not accepted our offers at fair market value. And so the next step that we need to start on to have the land in time to construct the berm in spring 2025 is to begin the expropriation process. So before council this evening, we have a resolution for expropriation and a notice of intention to expropriate for 760 Second Avenue. And again, we just need a small portion of the lot at the back of the property as shown on the attached Schedule A figure. So the cost of the land would be eligible for funding under our provincial grant funding program. And in theory, the 100% of that cost would be covered by the provincial grant. Any damages awarded during the expropriation process would be reviewed by the provincial government, and they would decide on eligibility of those for provincial funding during that process. And in terms of communication, when the expropriation is registered at the land titles office, we would provide notice to the impacted landowner and any other registered interest in the property as soon as possible. And then we would also advertise in the local newspaper a week apart as required by the Expropriation Act.
Thanks, Dane. Can I get a motion, please, Council? Crystal?
I move that council approve the resolution for expropriation and notice of intention to expropriate pertaining to a portion of land described as Plan 94-10208, Lot 1, Title Number 011248557.
Get a seconder, please. Tony, comments? Tom?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, it seems to be a kind of a small section of land. Are there any buildings on there? Is that why the person doesn't want to sell it? Or it seems like a small portion of the lot and wouldn't seem to be a big deal, but I'm just wondering why there would be such a holdup that we would need to go to expropriation.
I think what we're hearing from landowners in Akmine in general is that they haven't seen flooding as significant as other areas of the community in the past, and they don't see the need for the berm, which the flood office obviously disagrees with. We feel that there is a really strong need for the berm in this area. The community is flooded at a 1 in 100-year flood event, so it is important to protect not only this lot but the whole of the community. And that's one thing that we've been working on, trying to communicate with the landowners in Akmine.
Tony?
So again, just to be clear, then this is the first step in the process. Negotiations can be ongoing through this if they want to change paths.
Yeah, the landowner is always open at this point to come back to us and accept an offer. However, in this case, they have retained legal counsel, so any further discussions will be between their counsel and our counsel over the matter.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Dagan. All right, we'll move on to 7.3.1, please, Victoria.
Okay, good evening, Council. So as this capital project is already the third time to bring it to the Council, so this time I'm going to identify the summary of changes as per the Committee of the Whole meeting on December 11th. So there are three changes. One is the addition of $15,000 for the new software for the short-term rental administrations. Second item is to defer the command vehicle for the duty officers under the fire chief to 2025 of $90,000. And then the third one is to advance the feasibility study and conceptual design for the Aquaplex of $175,000 from 2025 to next year, 2024. And that will be under the Director of Infrastructures. So with this, it translates to the proposed budget would be $4.53 million. Under Parks and Recreation, $1.15 million. Roads, transportations, $940,000. Common Services, $1.33 million. Fire Services, $360,000. administration enforcement, $180,000, cemetery, $30,000, and airport, just above $500,000, total of $4.53 million. To give some context in terms of the capacity of the 2024 for the municipality, I kind of break it down by the carry forward and what we propose, and including the flood project as well. So the carry forward council already pre-approved that in 2023. It is sitting in the reserve, but again, this is the outstanding projects that require staff and contractors resources to do it. So we still have, for the carry forward for water and wastewater, we still have $3.5 million to complete. Council previously approved the 2024 for the water and wastewater, 4.13 million. We have also a carry forward from last year's for 6.2 mil. And under this project, we're talking about 4.5 mil. And the project for the floods, they will be expecting to do about $22 million. So from in terms of the financial pressures on the town, it would be $41 million. As I mentioned, it will be a combination of using the reserve and then as well as the general tax. And of course, the water will be supported by the use of fee models. Okay, so then the last thing I want to present to council is just that compared to last year's, our increase is about 3.66%. So last year's, the council approved the total capital for 8.3 mil, and this year's we asking for 8.6 mil.
All right, Victoria, thank you. Can I get a motion, please, council? Tony?
I move that council approves the 2024 capital budget as presented in the 10-year capital plan.
Seconder, please. Lisa, comments? Crystal?
Just a quick question about the flood project. That is our total committed amount that we have to commit for with the partners, right? The federal and provincial, that 22, and that we are taking that out kind of at the end of the flood project. Is that kind of how it's working out?
Okay, so that $22 million is what will be expensed in 2024. And the problem with some of our funders is that they won't reimburse the money 6 months or 9 months. So technically, we still have to advance the fund, and hopefully that we will get the funding on a timely basis. Yeah.
Tony?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment, and I'm satisfied with the capital plan as it lays out, $4.5 million. Happy to hear there's capacity there to do that, both in manpower and in financing. I just like to draw attention to that half of this capital budget is going to lay in parks and recreation and land reclamation. So like to see that on the park side.
Anybody else? Patrick?
I just want to say thank you for all the hard work on this. I know that we had to do a lot of juggling with the amount of projects that we have, so I appreciate it.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Victoria. You're up again.
So in front of council is the third reading for bylaw number 12.23. This is for the utility rates bylaw. As we previously discussed, this is the model is based on the 2022 water study. So the 3% increase for the water and 6% for the wastewater. The only changes is that the increase for the flat rates is actually address one of the major projects under the wastewater. And council has previously agreed that we will be internally financed, borrowing from our water reserve to pay for our wastewater project. And the payments will be made for the next 10 years. And the increase will be about $4.74 every month for the next 10 years. Again, this is the most, in the administration's opinion, this is the most reasonable approach, recognizing the ability to pay, as well as the aging of our infrastructures that we need to address. So I think one of the question is about the sewage connections. Again, this is only for the residents in the East Cooley because they don't have the water connections. Okay, question.
All right, thank you. Can I get a motion, please? Lake Crystal?
I move the council give third reading to the 2024 utility rate bylaw as presented.
Seconder? Tony? Comments? Tom?
Yeah, I just appreciate all the work that you've done, especially the work that you've done in kind of comparing our utility rates with other communities of similar size. We hear all the time, oh, the utilities are too much, oh, water costs too much, you know, and then when you look around at all these other committees that or communities that we are compared to, it's fair.
Crystal?
So I just have a quick question because this.
We are right now reviewing the agreements because apparently the administration is going through the files, and I'm going to use that. I'm a new CFO, so I don't know how long I can use this card. But yes, we're going to review that. We are also committed to send a letter to all these regional users on an annual basis with the increased rates. At this point, I cannot really respond until council passed this bylaw. Then I can use that if the town of Drumheller is paying this amount, then we can have a basis for negotiations for better rate. Thank you.
There is a bit of, sorry, just gonna add to that. There is one other piece that, so users in Drumheller pay for the transmission lines plus the distribution lines. So the water that gets right to your house, excuse me, but Aqua 7 Churchill only pay the transmission charges. And they all have, so Aqua 7, for instance, prepaid a bunch of their rates when they opened up the line, was that 10 years ago or something like that? So they've actually paid down a lot of the capitals, which is some of the costs that the CLV or the Munson line would have. And so, but it's really the difference between distribution and transmission costs. So,
Lisa?
I realize that not everybody likes the thought of having any utilities increase in price. But in this case, we've been working on full cost recovery of providing the water, cleaning the water, and the wastewater aspect of it as well. So it is necessary, and I think it's very prudent of our municipality to continue on in this vein. Other communities are just starting the full cost recovery models, and I'm pretty sure in the next 3 to 5 years you're going to see drastic rate increases all across Alberta, as it was a provincial mandate. And at $4 a month, yeah, I don't like it. I have to lose a couple of coffees, but at the end of the day, it's going back into the system to make sure that we can keep it where it needs to be and operating well for the rest of the community.
Thanks, Lisa. Anybody else? Patrick?
Just for my own information, we're financing this river crossing from our reserves, albeit a different reserve. I was just curious, is it legislated that we have to charge a certain interest rate to borrow our own money, or how does that?
No, that is no legislative requirements. As a matter of fact, under the MGA, it doesn't say that we have to sustain under the water and wastewater. They just encourage us to do it. But in order to, if we have to borrow from the bank or from the province, this is the rate they will be charge us. So we're just thinking that this would be a good baseline to use as the interest, that instead of borrowing from the bank or from the province, we borrow from internally, but we replenish that with the same interest rate.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Victoria. Okay, let's move on to 7.4.1, please, Greg.
Thank you, Your Worship. Pleases Council, as a briefing note regarding our work in progress pilot project regarding the paid parking. Earlier this year, Council instructed administration to seek out possible contractors put together a plan to institute a paid parking program in the town of Drumheller. Um, After a great deal of background work, learning, and research, we ultimately ran a pilot project in October for approximately 31 days. This was to introduce residents to the hotspot paid parking program, registration process of residents' vehicles that would be exempted from paid parking, um, and as well to address and deal with questions, but to surface and show any, and for lack of a better term, glitches, weak spots, things that needed to be learned, shored up, and referred to hotspot for more work and understanding on our part. As of the 1st of November, we had 305 vehicles registered. As of December 1st, we had 349 residents that had gone online, some with assistance from staff, but the lion's share of citizens did this themselves. I feel that the odd citizen would call up and be stuck on a certain point, and we would help them through that. But by the most part, citizens did this mostly on their own. And that the registration was conducted by Hotspot. It was the one thing that we did pay them to do this year. It is a task that staff could ultimately take on. We can do this ourselves, but it requires a lot of work, and it may ultimately require, depending on the success of the program and the wishes of council in the future, perhaps a dedicated person to run the entire program. But we'll see how things work out. We found it difficult for some people to accept paid parking in the community. Some of our interactions and phone calls and comments and questions put to us at the open houses and as well on regular day-to-day work. However, we did our best to try to answer these. And if council sees fit to embrace the program and give us the go-ahead for next year, we will. It is our plan to start a communications plan, program, efforts in January to continue regularly until the system ultimately could start again on May 1st. I've spoken to Brett about this, and we have ideas of putting ideas, excuse me, redundant to the community, about just as reminders, as get to know facts, the benefits, and to try to ease people's understanding and use of the program. If we're to operate in 2024, we feel with 3 seasonal, not permanent staff members to act as enforcement officers, mobile enforcement officers in the community, working 12 to 14 hours a day. I have also spoken with Human Resources Department of the town and seeking Canada Summer Grants money to support these positions. These would operate every day, and they would be mobile to all the lots that were adopted under paid parking. Travel from lot to lot using the license plate recognition devices we have, and just that, and enforcing the law, educating people as well, and as everyone knows, we did install signs at various lots around town. We do need to do some work at the Hoodoo still in on Riverside Drive. All of our staff, myself, all the street officers, and Janice Armstrong as well, our assistant, we're all trained in the use of the license plate reader, so we could understand the entire program and then therefore be able to explain it and answer questions at any time from the public. Our open houses were held at the BCF Public Forums, September 14th and November 15th. We had many questions from the public. Many had opportunities to ask us questions or write down things and submit them to us for consideration. A survey was also conducted, and the website survey with 378 questions returned to us, and council can read the type of questions we have been put to us and sought how to answer. we are ongoing with our help with seniors, and if anybody does require help. We initially had a great many that submitted when they found out they could, that called up and wanted to make appointments. Ultimately, we saw very few people, and so as I said, many were helped over the phone. A couple people would flag us down from time to time in the street and just asking questions, and um, did our best. At some point, it's if you start off in the program and you start off in the wrong tab, and you go down a rabbit hole, and the rest of it is not going to work out for you. So we have done our work to help people understand. We still have plans to help seniors if anybody wishes to call us and make an appointment. Karen, the seniors coordinator, was very helpful and very, very cooperative, and helping people in person and on the phone as well. Um, at the very start of the program, there was thoughts of erecting a kiosk or a separate platform for people to register their vehicle at, say, at the Big Dinosaur, the BCF. Um, Hotspot, we're still talking with them as recently as Friday about the installation. Perhaps the best answer for this, and we're still working on how this would work, would be just a pay station, as you might see in Calgary, an erected pedestal in one spot with appropriate signage indicating to people. It's just a thought. It's not by any means uh, been anything we would seek to buy or without further work. Um, but it would offer a fast tap option, and people wouldn't have to. Um, some people are reticent to offer details about their email or things like that. So some people we help, we would actually create an email for them um, with their assurance that we weren't going to use it for anything, and give them the email, which would allow them into the system, and an email that was known only to them and us. It would be just, or any notes there that were destroyed shortly after. So we're seeking to compromise anything. We're just trying to help people through the program. So the purchase of a pay station in the area of $7,000 to $8,000 is an option that could be a permanent fixture, and as well in the initial my hope is in the initial weeks of the program in 2024, um, one of the officers seasonal we hire would be enforcement / education officer in place to answer questions, knowledgeable in the program, and kind of leading if anybody was having questions or hesitant, um, in place at the Big Dinosaur in that area to meet people face to face and to help them through the program and registering their vehicles. We've had many concerns raised about um, parking during Dragons games. Um, we don't really foresee any problems with this, in spite of what people may suspect. We would basically just either we can institute a blackout in that area for the time and just engage in no enforcement. The only real question would be, perhaps, as I say here, could be October with the Dragons, but with a little faith and trust in how we operate, we would simply during those times, as an option, engage in very little active enforcement in the area. I don't think any of these things are insurmountable. As I said, we're still learning as we go, but we have learned a great deal in the past months. We had a conversation today with the corporate service director and Mr. Ledester of the BCF about how we could institute, and we worked on this last week and the week before as well, how we could institute a BCF membership along with incorporating a paid parking um, um, permission, or basically that if the plate was checked by the enforcement officer, it would show up as in similar wherever the person lives, depending with the BCF membership would go along make myself clear, I'm sorry, but would go along with that a free parking privilege for the duration of the membership. Um, so these are things, if council is supportive of the program continuing, that we can address and go further into um, with our contractor. It does pose specific challenges for them. However, the contacts we use are very helpful, and as I said, we have a tentative plan as to how this could work. Similarly, if a large conference or a fair at the BCF, say perhaps a 3-day environment or green conference or something like that, where people are attending and will be parking in the BCF, we can adopt, there is a way to call it there's two ways to go about it, but there is a way that with the person engaging and signing up for the conference would go, if they use it properly, would go with them a code to enter indicating that they're part of a larger event and therefore exempted from the paid parking wherever they are from if they are attending for the conference. Anybody have any questions on that? I hope I'm making myself, I may be, I'm trying to wander, but there is a way to make it work, we believe. There is a lot of work that goes into this. We have found to make it to make the program successful. But as I said, with experience and more exposure, we are finding that we can. Now there are new things put to us that we need to deal with, but I feel with the dedicated effort of staff, Janice Armstrong has been tremendous help in working with this, making this work and understanding. So I feel we have a path forward. Hotspot does caution us, though, that the program should be allowed to operate as it is intended. When we make allowances or when we change obligations to pay, it weakens the system. We have to kind of do our best to. We want people to be accommodated, and I certainly want council's approval. But if at all possible, it's best to let the program run as it is and within the confines of the program, whether it's a discounted permit or a moderated permit that we would adopt for conferences or specific events, or for paid memberships at the BCF. I say we're still working through this. I don't have all the answers on this at this time, but we are still working through that. Remarkably, even though there was no enforcement action in October, several people did pay to park, and we did have moderate revenues, meager, whatever term. We received $290.24 after Hotspot had their percentage. Some people just, whether they didn't know, or some people, I had a couple of calls from people that were concerned about how to make this work, and they weren't from Drumheller, and they insisted on paying. And I expressed to them that it was the wishes of council, it was but they still insisted on paying, and they certainly did. So well-meaning people, and I appreciate the unknown, but well-meaning people that did pay for parking in October. The program runs where Hotspot collects the fees for a month, and then in the first week of the following month, the funds are then dispensed to the town. At this time, the Hotspot collects 15% plus a 2.99 merchant processing fee. So out of every dollar, 17.9 cents goes to Hotspot under the current conditions of our contract. I'm really very grateful to all the work and support from Brett and Francesco in communications. The mentoring of the CAO and help from Denise and just general information was tremendous help in, as I said, it does put quite, it is very, very involved, and we're trying to do our best to keep on top of it, because initially in January, when I said my department will look after this, I knew it would be a lot of work, but there are a lot of, like anything, to make it run properly, there's a lot of minor details that need to be assiduously adhered to, and the minor, I won't bore anybody with it now, but that have to be adhered to so it works to be a success, so we don't basically, and I certainly don't want my department to fall on our faces and look foolish. We're doing our best to keep up. As I said, and there's more to learn, and we're learning. As of our meetings with Hotspot on Thursday and Friday last week, again, I learned tremendous amount about another area that we will use for the granting of permits for, as I hope we'll learn up with the BCF conferences, things like that take place.
All right, well, thank you, Greg. I'm going to see if council has questions of you now. So who wants to start? I think, let's just go to my left, Stephanie.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you. I know a lot of time and work went into this, so thank you to everybody involved. I'm wondering if we have plans to talk with Travel Drumheller, as they've expressed interest of being involved in helping us roll out the program and do
We're-
stuff.
We're certainly open to, we'll talk to anybody, Ms. Price, as we go forward. Right now, we've just been, not, not to close things out, we've been really focusing on learning and trying to find answers to for the path forward, but our door is always open and make it work, and we don't want any rank or bad feelings. We do our best to.
Perfect, because I think they have some good ideas and could really help us along. I know everything else is kind of, it's not cemented in place, so I think that's my only question for
No,
now.
we have a good, solid understanding, I believe, and we made the program with the support of Public Works, Matt Andrew, putting the signs up, Dave, Brett's assistants, as I mentioned people before, I really believe we have a sound, I wouldn't tell it if I didn't think so. We have a sound understanding and foundation of how it works. Now, there are new areas, as I mentioned, that have to be learned, so we are adept and knowledgeable in that to make it work properly.
Okay, I guess then I don't know how anybody else feels about this, but I see the program running more May long to September long instead of May 1st to October 31st. And then that might kind of cut out some of the need for the blackout periods during the Drumheller Dragons games and creating none of that weakening of the hotspot app.
Crystal.
Yeah, again, thank you. I know this has been a huge undertaking for your team, and we appreciate them getting the message out. And just to reiterate what Steph said, I know Travel Drumheller really wants to help to ensure the messaging gets to the visitors. That's their role. They're taking care of visitors in our communities. So let's make sure we are collaborating with them. I also would have to agree with Stephanie on the May 1st to September long weekend. And the reason why I say that is because seasonal staff are generally university college students. They're out from May till September long weekend. So we're never having to really hire someone outside of that time frame. So that would be my suggestion as well. One question, are there going to be some kind of like 15-minute free parking at the BCF for like library users, or people are going in there for lunch where they're not having to pay, they're just going in quick to grab something and then leaving? Has that been talked about? Or even some consideration for the tenants that we have in that building?
Well,
Yeah,
these are
sorry.
comments they're gonna feed to you, so you guys can get us some questions after.
Yeah.
Right, there's, my staff is pretty clear on, and I don't want to sound anything, but the mercifulness of it, of how this program will work and how we want the public to be. Yes, it's paid parking, but these are the reasons why, and this is how we administer it. Nobody's going to be hiding the rocks in the trees, waiting to jump on anyone else. Now, as for a grace period, that's something we still, yes, but they would still, that's a case of ideally, say Mr. Kalafa parks and runs, I'm just picking anybody out, Mr. Kalafa, runs in, right, to grab something to eat at the contractor in the, enforcement officer happens to come along at that time and sees the vehicle, right, sitting there, and he hasn't done anything, right, he's running in and out. So that makes it difficult for us to understand what the person is doing. Now, if Mr. Kalafa shows up as he's a resident, then it's not going to be any issue, right? He'll already showing up as a resident of Drumheller and registered, so there won't be any issue at all. It'll show up as exempted. There is the way the program is set up, people can submit, if they have concerns about getting a ticket, it can be submitted for review, and that'll be reviewed by myself. Now, as for a 15-minute or some kind of grace period, I suspect those will be few and far between because it's largely going to be residents. So I'm not trying to get away with not giving you a straight answer. I don't see that being, especially if somebody was to come out and say to one of the officers, I was just in doing this, and I think we've all adopted the idea that the tie goes around, and we're not going to quibble over, especially if it's a resident, which I expect most people will be doing such a thing, right?
Yeah, no, thanks for
Yeah,
that.
I'm not-
Those were just kind of
I'm
some.
not trying to dance around the issue,
yeah.
Mr. Rita, I'm just.
No, and those were kind
Yeah.
of some of the questions and comments I've had just recently, right? So the other ones kind of have all been talked about. So thank you.
Patrick, did you have your hand up? No? Lisa? It's okay if you had something, go ahead. I'm just going along the line here.
All right, I got a few here for you, Greg. How long is the contract with Hotspot? Is it renewed annually, or is it like a 3-year, 5-year?
Yeah, it can be basically cut off at any, we're not in any kind of long-term
Okay,
with them.
and then my other question is, has there been consideration about a different permit price for like a tour bus or a bus if they go to the suspension bridge and they park there? Like, what would they be looking like for rate wise?
Just that it would be the same. I mean, the fee, you're talking about
Yeah.
the fee? No, if a tour bus pulls in and parks in a spot, we don't have any special, at this time, any special rate for a bus or anything, it would be the same. Right now, we'd be charging the same, they would register and pay the same fee.
I think that that's something we should look into. Um, I mean, a lot of tourist communities, obviously, you pack a bunch of people in a bus, right? Like,
No, I
they
understand.
should
Yeah.
by head, I would assume. And then my other question is, when it comes to the summer grant, when do you find out if we're successful on that? And does it give you enough time to hire for the summer?
We usually be notified in May or June, and last year the town didn't get any, so it is a competitive process.
So that has me concerned if that's gonna be one of the main funding for part-time staff.
I think the, from the program, and it's funny, it's because what I say to Public Works is that we apply every year, but we still have to hire the students because we still need grass cut, we still need, roads cleaned and things like that. So in a case like this, the idea is that there would be three summer students, but with the idea that you have money to offset them from a grant, but it's not, it's, as Victoria says, it's not guaranteed, so.
Yeah, so, which I kind of figured, but the other aspect is what about safety? I mean, when it comes to parking and people having to pay, I think we've all seen parking wars on TV. But I mean, if you get a bunch of, young kids that go up to people that are refusing to pay or refusing to even listen after the education time frame is kind of passed, I would hope that there's some methods in place to help protect them or give them access
No,
to.
yeah, Ms. Acker, we have I'm working on it every day, a policy for, an operation policy for parking staff. And when they call a friend for help and things like that. So I know, I understand exactly what you're saying, but it's not been unnoticed, and I'm working on
Okay.
on a policy that would be explained, they'd be trained in this and the other training, we're working as well. Very good friend of mine is a, trained mental health professional who works in Western Canada with police forces and the military, and he trains in a variety of things, and he's willing to help us out for free, about just that de-escalation, threat assessment, tactics, and a lot of kids, exactly like you're saying, somebody 18, 19, whereas their legal age may not have, and most don't have the experience of dealing with, nasty
Exactly.
people. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Greg.
Tom?
Thank you for all your work on this. This is incredible. I think it has lots of potential. I think it has some bugs that need to be worked out. But I would like to, I guess, regress a little bit and go back to why we are doing this parking program. And to me, it has to do with council's primary responsibility is the residents of this community. And one of the main considerations that we have, and we all hear about regularly, is taxation. How much people pay in taxes. And when I look at the percentage of their tax dollars that go into the maintenance and operation of some of our tourist attractions and our recreation facilities, then I look at this paid parking program as a way of reducing that. And again, it's our responsibility as council to, our responsibility is the residents. It's not people from out of town who are coming to use our facilities. We don't have that responsibility. I mean, that's wonderful that they come, but if they are using facilities that are being supported by our taxpayers, then I think we have the responsibility of trying to reduce that as much as we can. So I would really keep in consideration the idea that I don't like the idea of making exceptions. You know, if somebody from out of town is coming in and using our facilities that are being paid for by our taxpayers, then to have them pay a little bit through paid parking to help defray some of that cost, I don't have a problem with that. So you say, well, we don't want anybody to pay for parking for the Dragons games. Well, why not? I mean, the taxpayers of this community pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to operate the Memorial Arena. Um, so to me, I think this is a wonderful program. I would like to actually extend it through the year. I mean, the number of times that I go by the Hoodoos, for example, in November. I mean, I go by in February, and there's people using the Hoodoos. And these aren't local residents. These are people using the parking lot, using the washrooms, and using, whatever that taxpayers are paying for. I see no reason why the people who are non-taxpayers and using the facilities that are supported by taxpayers don't pay. So I think this is a wonderful program. I think it has real potential to help the taxpayers in this community.
Tony?
First off, Greg, lots of heavy lifting here. You took a lot of flack for sure. I think from the public's point of view, I want to regress here too and go back to our original intent here. But again, the original intent was to target tours to assist with infrastructure and services that they use versus the private resident here. I think the pilot project that we did at the Hoodoos came in with the same doubts, and it came in with the final results, which were $27,000 after expenses. I think the way you've extrapolated the revenue portion here after expenses, so bringing on suspension bridge, I would agree, would bring that number to 54. Bringing on the additional ones in town, I mean, you could easily be pushing $100,000 net revenue here. That would surely build some washrooms at the Hoodoos. That would surely assist in paving. It wouldn't complete, but it would assist in paving parking lots. All of these tourist services that we're expected to provide. But again, I'd look to reduce that time frame as well. The heavy tourist travel here is May long weekend to September long weekend. We're not out to grab every nickel. I mean, some starts before that, some trails on after that. I think from manpower issues, summer students program, it aligns closer to that. Even without the Canada Summer Jobs, we're looking at 2 or 3 university kids, so that falls within that timeline too. I think starting too much before, letting it go too much after, is going to cause us some manpower issues. As far as blackout periods and stuff, again, I've seen your department in action. It's not iron fisted enforcement. Okay, it's a lot of common sense and flexibility. And I don't see creating quirks in hotspots system to manage something that you can manage yourself. You can't be reading plates 24 hours a day, every minute of the day. The guy will be driving a circuit. There's going to be times Dragons games. If you're not reading license plates, that's not a big deal. Weddings, big events at the BCF and stuff. A little bit of communication can tell you when those are occurring. let's keep in mind we're generating revenue for BCF as well, and we wouldn't want to compromise events there. So rather than going through a convoluted system and a burden to the host party of doing apps and special allowances, and I mean, just don't read the plate, right? As far as the stand-up kiosks go, not everybody has technology, wants to load the app, or can pay on the app with Apple Wallet or something. So I think those are a given. The alternative is a pay station, one at this location for sure. Just something simple like they have at the hospitals or in the city parking lots or something. You enter your plate, scan your credit card, you're done. I think let's keep it simple here. And yeah, thank you for running the pilot.
Patrick?
I guess one of my thoughts is it's been brought up with the summer staff a couple of times, and I guess I don't feel or don't understand why this would actually have to be enforced the entire time the meters are running. I think the majority of compliance doesn't come from enforcement. It comes from people doing the right thing. I pay ticket whether I see somebody coming down to get me or not. So, and I guess I probably also think of some of the parking enforcement as a part of traffic enforcement. I kind of feel like that's a lot of staff. That's one of my thoughts with that.
Anybody else? Yeah, on the staffing, like, well, we, at the Hoodoos, we had tenants or people float, so I don't think there's any change in staff. It's just, I think how they move them around, but I'm with Patrick. I don't know if a lot of this is enforcement. If you're, most people that are honest are gonna do it anyways. As far as the counties and stuff, I am working with all the reefs, so I'll have hopefully an update on that for you, Greg, in January, but we are working at, figuring out how do we make this work for all the residents. I had a really good person that knows a lot about what we go through come up with a sticker. He said, rather than the people having to go through every license, if you've registered, you get one of these stickers, you put it in your window. It's only a small little sticker, and then the parking attendants don't even have to look at it. So I thought it was a brilliant idea. So I'll pass that to you. You can something to think about because it might save a lot of people having to scan a whole lot of cars. As far as getting people to register, like things like, I'm just going to use Highway 9 for example, but if you went to Highway 9 Express, you showed, Shannon, a couple people there how to set the app up, then they could tell their 50, 60 people, and those 50, 60 people would tell 60, 50, 60. And it just, I think if you go at this thing more on a, go pick some of the bigger, head out to inland and get, one or two people out there, and then they can help their people and AHS, the pen, and all these things. I think that, go rather than try and single one by one, that, the Pioneer Trail, there's some very bright seniors that know technology, and if you could come up with a, you tell one person, they tell one person, they tell one person, and even like the airport, how they have the white hatters, I'm sure that there's 20, 30 people in this community that would help us get the message out. So I think we just got to kind of come up with a plan that, each one of us on council has to find one of those people who will help us share. So I think I don't think it's going to take a lot to get people on this. Um, and then obviously pancake breakfasts and stuff like that, that I'm sure that we have how many employees within the town of Drumheller. If each one of them told one person, I think that's just, we got to just kind of educate everybody to educate each other, and it won't take much. So but yeah, I agree with, I'm kind of with Tom on I don't know, having a timeline. The signs are out there. I don't think we're going to run around and take all the signs down and then run around and put all the signs back up. So you're going to have you're going to have the people that live in the valley that know if they're registered, it doesn't matter. We're working on, the county, so we would solve that one. I'm sure we'll come up with some good ideas on that. And then, if somebody's going out to Hooters in November and they choose to pay and help us out, great. If they choose not to pay, it's not like we're gonna, I don't think we have to enforce or have people pay to go around at those times, but I'm surely believe that we don't have the manpower to run around and take a bunch of signs down. So, if you did it for a month and, you raised $300 and, go ahead.
Well, Scobie, council, we could still run the enforcement part of it. You just, all the street officers and myself have the authority. It could in theory run the paid parking every day of the year. I'm not looking to be heavy handed or anything. I'm saying it could run in theory. There's just wouldn't be the dedicated, right? It would be if
Yeah, but
I'm
again, I
looking,
don't think we're looking to,
that's just an option,
yeah,
whatever council wishes, but I'm saying
yeah.
that it could run, and if somebody like in October, those well-meaning, but people that didn't have to pay, did pay, it is revenue.
Yeah, I think it's a case of, we know you have, if our community is 100% cleaned
well.
up and everything else done, then
Well, and
when we're looking
violations as
for
well are
work, then
revenue.
we would do it. Yeah, but I think our biggest thing isn't really about, it's obviously not catching, but addressing this summer impact to our community so that those funds can go back into helping our infrastructure so the cost of tourism isn't, like Tom said, at the cost of residents. So I think there's lots of things that can be done here, but I commend you and your team. Lots of work here, and I keep echoing Tom, but I do really appreciate what you said, Tom, and we're just trying to help the residents of our community. Go ahead.
Yeah, just one other comment. The one comment that I've heard a couple of times that I think we need to address is I've had people tell me, well, this is a town program, and I go to town hall and I ask for help, and I'm told, no, you got to do it online and go away. And so I'm just wondering if we could have somebody at town hall, maybe designated, so when somebody comes in and says, could you help me register? That, that person could be called and come down and help the person or whatever. But I've heard that from two or three different people that they've come to town hall and town hall basically said, no, we can't help you.
I don't know about that, sir, but I've had people call that they've gone to the first floor staff and they've been told to call me, and they have. So I can't account for everything, and I'm not making excuses. But I've had people that have called me. They've gone and gotten a word from Mrs. Walroth or Mrs. Bosch or Mrs. Thompson, and Mrs. Coveney, and they say you can call Greg and at Public Works or in my office. And I know I have fielded several calls. I'm not, as I said, I'm not making excuses, and some perhaps had a bad experience, but for the large part, the ladies downstairs have been referring people. I thought quite regularly, but things happen. I understand.
I guess what Tom's saying is if we educated everybody in the system, like if all 100 and some employees actually knew how to do it, maybe, somebody that's walking into BCF that's having trouble, if somebody actually knows, they have other duties. But, if we want to try and get everybody on this within the next 4 months, I think, I don't, I guess if somebody's standing and we got a line up outside the BCF doing it, then we got to figure something out. But I don't think it hurts any one of us as well. We all should know how to do it, and we should be educating people. So it's going to take a team effort to get this done.
I think if I have two things. So, do the signs not actually have dates on them already? I thought the signs in our areas already have May to October. Oh, because we could easily just add a sticker on the signs if that's what we wanted to do. That'd be like that would be the easiest thing to do, to say it's in effect this time, right? That addresses the piece of later on. I think the second piece, and Tom, just to sort of address your comment about the staff time. So we make a lot of assumptions all the time, right? And so one of the things that's really quite interesting is that some of the people that come in, and which there haven't been many to come in, period, but when they come in, they don't have an email address, right? So the very basic thing that you need to do. So now, before you actually get them into Hotspot, you have to, and Greg has talked about it, you have to actually get them a Gmail address or something like that. And then you have to convince them that actually having a Gmail address, we're not going to somehow take their personal information from them. So what we think is a 6 to 7 minute procedure can be 25 or 30 minutes of time, in part because you're coaching someone to try to make it okay for them to do it. So it's not that it's a, like, it's a realistic piece. I think the idea of trying to get more community members to actually help do that is the far better thing to do. Because I think that Greg has talked about that challenge with some of the folks that have come to him or phoned, right? So.
Just a sec, Tony, okay, so I understand where you're going. However, like over the next 4 months that we're trying to get everybody, could we actually create a calendar that says, so even, the gals downstairs, they can give a calendar and say, you know, setting up for a hotspot or registering is happening this day from here to here, that, even if it's 3 times a week, we got, we gotta have somebody in the system that could find 3 hours 3 times a week.
Is that Karen, like our seniors coordinator?
I don't know who it is,
She, yeah.
but
I
we
think
just we kind of gotta help our people, cause I've had a lot of, seniors and I've been helping them through, but they do get flustered because they do ask questions of us as and I'm saying us as we're staff as well, in that sense that we have to be able to direct them. So if we can say, oh, it's happening at this day at this time, and here's the form or here's the sheet, or just, I think we got to, we can't just keep pushing them around. We got to have a better system. So I realize that this is all a pilot and we're just giving you information and nothing is set up in stone. So you may already have all this. I'm just thinking that, we got to help them a bit more. Lisa?
Well, what about directing them, say, to the library where they have access, I think, to computers? And if somebody's trying down at the library, they can help them through it. As an idea.
Crystal?
Just in regards to when we're not going to be doing paid parking, like the months wherever, I just went on the hotspot app and I tried putting in one of the zones 15 minutes and it says its location is currently unavailable. So maybe there's a whatever hotspot does, maybe it could be popped up. No, it's no longer, you don't have to pay for parking from this time or something, a message. So I just went on there real quick. So I don't know, maybe there's a solution there too. Yeah.
Tony?
I would just circle back to your sticker idea. For those that are lacking technology or don't have an email address to create an account, keeping in mind that they're local residents, why do you need an account? Can we just give them one of these stickers? They put it on their vehicle, they're done. There's no reason to have an account for them at Hotspot, right? Because your enforcement people would drive by, you'd see the sticker on the back windshield and carry on. Just a suggestion.
And that might be something to use for those people that don't have email. Does anybody else have any? Lisa?
Can you still register in hotspot right now? Okay, because I thought it was just a pilot and it stopped at the end of October.
No, it was, and they shut it down, but it's active again, and I in fact helped somebody today with it.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know. So something I can pump out on social media.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm really suggesting it just times, because then you can do your work, your other work, and you're not hotspot something else, hotspot something else. You can actually say, you know what, I'll be down there, or so and so will be down there at. Just helping you out, man.
I understand, Ms. Colbert, but a lot of people get frustrated, and we would just rather we get them on the phone. They're offered an appointment to see the seniors coordinator, or I can help them on the phone. They've been offered, we'll drop by your house. We have extended to people that need, I'm not saying we can't do more, but we have, and everybody's been offered, it sounded like they were senior, to stop, and Karen was more than willing, to help out and very, helpful. So thank you.
Okay, well, I think you gave you lots. We'll start looking for parking angels instead of snow angels. Okay, well, thanks, Greg, for that update. We will look forward to seeing where we're going from here.
So, excuse me, sorry, before we leave the topic, just so next year, I was wanting to understand the operating parameters and times. Is it going to be council
Well, I
wishes of
think we
council May
gotta,
first, or we're gonna do some more thinking?
I think there's gotta be more discussion on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin, Acting Director of Infrastructure, you're on 7.5.1, please.
Okay, good evening, I guess it's still afternoon, good afternoon, your worship, councilors. I'm here tonight to present a request for decision for a wheel loader. But I want to explain how it came to my decision first, please, so it might be a little long-winded. Request for decision on the new rubber-tired loader. On October 12th, 2023, the town of Drumheller sent out a request for tender for the purchase of a new rubber-tired wheel loader that will be large enough to operate our new Laurel D30 snow blower attachments that we purchased earlier this year. On November 2nd, 2023, the town received 8 tenders back from different dealerships. Please note that 2 of the received tenders were found to be non-compliant, so we evaluated the remaining 6 tenders. After evaluating all of the received tenders, it was determined that we would ask the 2 dealerships that were within our allotted capital budget of $325,000 and had scored number 1 and number 2 in the evaluation if we could demo their wheel loaders. After the demonstration by all our public works operators of the wheel loader, it was determined that the Volvo L90H supplied by Strongco would be the loader that we would recommend to council to purchase. So I am recommending, infrastructure services, I should say, is recommending that the town of Drumheller award the supply and delivery of a new rubber-tired loader to Strongco for the total price of $306,200, excluding GST.
All right, thanks, Kev. Council, can I have a motion, please? Tony?
I move that council award the request for tender 2023-036-04, supply and delivery of new rubber tire wheel loader to Strongco for the total price of $306,200 even, excluding GST.
Seconder, please. Patrick, comments? Tom?
Yeah, just looking at shopping locally, Brant and Rocky Mountain Equipment are local people, are they?
No, that's correct, yes.
And we do have a policy on major purchases of, what is it, 10% leeway or something?
Up to, I believe it's $30,000 as far exceeds the policy there, so. And neither of these, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin, like neither of these it'd be Brand, but Brand's the largest John Deere dealer in Canada, right?
Yeah, Brown, just if my.
And so it's not coming from here, it's coming from Calgary.
That's right, they're all from out of town dealerships. So you are correct, Brown does have a business here, but it's agriculture, it's not construction.
Anybody else? Lisa?
I had the same thought. I was like, with RME, I mean, I think that would be fantastic. I get it, they were over budget, but if it was local, I definitely would be supporting that, considering the possible new location that they are going to be opening up in Starland, I believe.
Tony?
I'm happy to see and read that you field tested these things, and based on Public Works feedback, some of the units are just not operable or inadequate. So I think that provides a lot of strength to the selection that was ultimately made by our people that are going to use this equipment. So I support your choice.
Thank you.
Crystal?
Does this mean we're not going to see the big old CN red snowblower anymore? That all the kids really love seeing? Or is this one going to be even more exciting?
We still have the older snow blower. If for some reason we have some operational problems with this new one, we'll have the other one back on the road.
Anybody else? Yeah, I agree back to, so, but we're, no matter what, we couldn't even, this is over the allotted amount that we keep for locals, so, that's, which is unfortunate, so. But, anyways, anything else? All in favor? Carried, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And I guess you're doing the next one too, please, 7.5.2?
Okay, same thing on this. I want to read to you a little information how I came to the request for decision. So the Best Service Pros Limited had the highest price, but after the evaluation, that came out with they came out with the highest score of 93.92 compared to 78% score by Sky Blue Service Corporations. They had achieved. They were the lowest bid. The difference in the evaluated score was based on the service that Sky Blue Service Corp had provided while working at the Drumheller RCMP detachment. They currently have the contract with the town to provide janitorial services until 2025. The contract started in 2023. There have been several complaints about the quality of janitorial services that they were providing. When the complaint was issued, we found that Sky Blue management had done very little to change that complaint into a higher level of service that is expected. We have also seen changes in management their first year, which makes the relationship with the contractor more challenging. They scored 37 out of a possible 50 points based on their level of service and their quality control that they have provided. So therefore, Infrastructure Services recommends that the town accept the tender from Best Service Pros Limited for the total cost of $606,303.71 over for 3 years, excluding GST.
I got a motion, please, Tom?
Yeah, I move that council award the Badlands Community Facility Janitorial Services 2024 to 2027 contract to Best Service Pros Limited for the total cost of $606,303.71, excluding GST.
Seconder? Crystal, comments? Stephanie?
Thank you for the presentation, Kevin. I've got a few questions for you. In this cost, does that include all their soap, cleaners, paper products? They'll be providing those?
Yes, it's a total package, labor and material.
Okay, is it cheaper to go that way? Like, would we ever hire our own janitors and pay them that way and buy all the stuff ourselves, or is it like, I don't know if that's normal or anything.
Council could go whichever way they'd like. We have in the past hired contractors. We've had good luck with contractors. From my own opinion, the labor market, you need to have some people that are dedicated to this. You cannot phone in sick because the building needs cleaned. I think this is the best efficient way for the price we're paying.
Thank you for that.
Anybody else? Tom?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a comment on the janitorial service or policy. We've noticed in the field house, on days where we play pickleball, a day or two after a fairly big event, that the floor is not very clean. Like we've literally had to clean the floor in places because something was spilled at the farmer's market or whatever. So I'm not sure if that's the janitorial services lack or whether that's a BCF policy that maybe we should look at.
I really can't comment on that, but what I can say is the contractor that is there now, in their contract, they are supposed to provide that service for us. So I cannot say why or why not that floor is not cleaned. I myself do not play pickleball yet, but in the future I might. So, and I would expect the same thing as a clean floor.
Tony?
I just want to clarify, so is this a 3-year contract like I was reading, or is it a 4-year as stated in the motion?
It's a 3-year contract, which breaks down to, I think I did it here somewhere, 2 seconds, guys, forgive me.
It's February to February, or February to January, so it's.
February first, yes, to.
Yeah, so it's February 1st, 2024 to January 31st, 2027.
That's why it looks like 4
Yes.
years,
Yeah,
okay.
I did the same thing, Tony.
Yeah.
So.
Anybody else? Lisa?
Did we not have best service pros before?
They were here before, that's correct, probably about 5, 6 years ago.
And can you remind me why we switched contractors? Was it just a better bid?
Yeah, it's almost always a bid. Like in the past, I think we just took low prices. So.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? So this best pro that you want to give it to presently does the town hall, correct?
Sorry?
So I think, I'm sorry, but I'm not, like, I'm here a lot.
Yep.
And, no, it's not very impressive. Like, I had dirt on the steps, spills. I watched it for weeks. I literally had to go clean it myself. The washrooms downstairs were disgusting, and I'm being blunt. You're gonna try and pay this amount of money. I hope we have some standards with these people. I hope somebody's walking around with them, because seriously, this building is not. I mean, I see the dust all over offices, and so I'm not sure what their requirements are, but it sure the heck isn't what we're kind of saying that. And if Sky Blue is doing the RC and Pan, they're not happy. I'm not sure we got either one of them or
Yeah, we
our
know,
choices.
so what we're doing right now, if there is a complaint, Reg, the facility, operational, the facility manager, will take a look at it, and then they will give a phone call to the management. Management should get back to his staff, and it should be good. So if there's something that's not, been maintained for 2 or 3 weeks, that's unacceptable.
I mean, just stickers on a window, for goodness sake, like what are they looking at? Do we have, does it have to be, like, does a list have to be made to, like, this isn't peanuts that we're paying these companies. So I hope that whatever we're giving them, the requirements are a little bit more than we're getting here now, because, I went to the BCF the other night, and we were cleaning, dumping garbages and picking up all the paper all over the floor, everything before the event. I mean, this thank you to the staff, by the way. They swept the staircase and stuff like this. Like, I'm not sure. We better really have a serious sit down with whoever council approves here, because what I've seen is not what it seems to be going the wrong way. So.
So what I would say, if council does not want to pass this, I guess we could, change the scope of work up, and we could, retender this.
Well, I'm not speaking for council. I'm just saying, if whatever we do here, and before this agreement's signed, we better have some specifics of the standards should be a heck of a lot higher than we've accepted.
Just a comment on Kevin's, if I can interrupt. So one of the things about the risk about doing that is that we then extend the current would need to extend the current contractor, and they may or may not want to extend. One of the things that, and it's funny because we had this conversation a couple of years ago about when we switched the tail end of the contract. So, hey, guess what? Your job is over in 6 weeks' time because we weren't a low bidder. The work tends to drop off and it's that's the challenge with multi-year contracts. And so I think you're absolutely right, Mayor Colberg, about needing to talk to Best Service Pro about the expectations that we have there before February 1st comes along. Yeah. It would be as part of the award meeting with them. So,
Lisa?
Can we just table this until later on in January?
Oh, I don't think so, because they closed the bid. So, and I think it's just up to administration to make sure that there's something in writing what's required, because I'm just talking from my opinion and being around here. It's definitely not up to the standards that I've seen.
And I would say the prior provider was the exact same. So I think it's good to have a revamp and look at it and just say that what our expectations are going forward.
Yep, that's what they just need, is to know the expectations.
Yep, no,
'cause-
thank you.
Yeah. All right, okay, all in favor? I'm not sure. I'm in favor of somebody doing it. I just hope that they understand it. We do try to set some pride standards. Okay, so all in favor, sorry? Carried. Did you oppose? We have one opposed. Noted. Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, council, I need to go, we got to go in closed session. Please have a motion. Who's got it up? Tom.
I move that council close the meeting to the public to discuss strategic development and planning as per FOIP 23, local public body confidences, FOIP 24, advice from officials, and FOIP 25, disclosure harmful to economic and other interests of a public body.
Seconder, please. Lisa, all in favor? Carried. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being with us. It's been a great year, a busy one, and we're still have a ton on the go for 24. So we wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas, a wonderful and prosperous New Year. Take care of your families, spend time with family and friends, and just get some rest and be ready for 2024. Take care.